A lot of people play Terraria on consoles. Millions, in fact. So, with the massive Journey's End patch not yet out for consoles, I thought I'd take a few minutes to review everything we know about the upcoming Journey's End, or 1.4, release for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Switch. Although DR Studios is the one developing all of the console versions now, having taken over that assignment from Pipeworks, they're understandably quiet. It's really up to Terraria's owner, Relogic, to determine what gets announced. So, here are some of the latest comments from Relogic. First, from the official forums, a user with the name of Someone That Needs Help, I hope you get your help, wrote, "Hey Loki, when do you think 1.4 will release on console?" Nice direct question, and it was actually answered by Loki, who wrote, "I don't have a date to give you. I suspect the team will have a much better idea post-alpha." A better idea post-alpha? Well, that actually transitions perfectly into what was said to us in the November State of the Game, where they wrote, "Assuming all goes to our current plan and pace of progress, we expect to reach alpha for console by the end of 2020. Something that sort of slipped under the radar was this tweet and its response involving the Relogic Vice President, Senix. Callum Fletcher wrote, or tweeted rather, "Just wondering, I'm on Xbox. When is 1.4 coming out on console? Thanks, please reply. I would like the Zenith, but I can't get it." And that prompted a response from Senix, the Vice President of Relogic, as I mentioned, and she wrote, "It is looking like early next year, but no promises. It is currently being worked on, and the team at DR is doing a fantastic job. It will be worth the wait." Senix also just had a birthday, as I learned from her Twitter account, so happy belated birthday, Senix. And so from multiple sources at Relogic, it looks like early 2021 will be the release for the consoles. Now, how early in 2021? Well, that remains to be seen. I guess it's still a little up in the air, but they seem to be pretty consistent in promising, or at least indicating to us, that in the first maybe 2 or 3 months of 2021, we can expect the console releases of Journey's End. But what will that release look like? Well, we've actually been shown 2 pre-alpha builds of Journey's End. First, this is one running on the Xbox One. And this is where it was at as of late September, by the way, so I have no reason to doubt that it hasn't progressed from there. And there's no reason to believe that the PlayStation 4 version is going to be really any different than what we're seeing here. And, you know, frankly, I'm not worried at all about the PS4 and Xbox One handling this thing. I think they can handle everything that Journey's End throws at them. Even though they're not technically current gen anymore, they're still very powerful machines. And unlike the mobile 1.4 release, I don't see why they won't be including the up-to-date water physics. In case you don't know, those physics were actually kept out of the mobile Journey's End release because of concerns about performance issues on some mobile devices, so they're still waiting for it on phones and tablets. But again, that shouldn't be a problem for the PS4 and Xbox One. But with that preview, not everyone was actually happy about what's been shown so far, as this post on the official forums indicates. Retro Apo wrote, "Oh wow, this new user interface for consoles looks terrible compared to what's now. Hopefully this will change or be optional." Do you folks agree with that? I'm not really that invested in a user interface as long as it works, but to each his own. And Loki did respond with the following. "Pretty sure some work will be done to include a form of legacy user interface." So Retro Apo and others who don't like the new look, well, you may have an option there. Now the Nintendo Switch, as you may know, is sort of the odd one out here. As a console, it's less powerful than the other two, but on the other hand, its hybrid nature and touchscreen give it some advantages over the others, some features that simply can't appear on the other consoles. And it must be pretty far along for the Switch as well, because they did share this pre-alpha footage of the game running on Switch in 1.4, and this is current as of late October. They have made a few statements regarding the timing of a Switch release of Journey's End, which I'm just going to go over as this footage plays. They wrote, "We are doing our very best to work on all 3 platforms at the same time in order to minimize any delay in the launch between Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. That is not to say they will necessarily be simultaneous, but working in parallel means we can cut way down on possible delays. Odds are that the Switch version will take a bit longer than the other 2 just because of the extra features and nuances that the Switch provides. Touch controls, docked versus undocked, hardware differences, etc. But the team will be doing everything in our power to lessen that time gap." Now, the Switch video does show off 2 things that distinguish the Switch from the other consoles. First, and most obvious, is the fact that they're playing this in handheld mode, which might not be everyone's cup of tea, but hey, you don't have to play undocked if you don't want to. Now the second, and what more people will like, is the touchscreen itself. I found that some of the more finicky elements of Terraria are easier to adjust when you're not dealing with a gamepad, and so that touchscreen does seem pretty darn convenient. In terms of the underhood work that might not be so obvious when we look at screenshots or gameplay videos, they have made some statements about that also. They've written, "The team has been doing some scoping and planning work so that we know all of the areas we need to touch in order to get from where we are today to where we need to be in order to get a worthy version of 1.4 out to you. Part of that will be working out things like what legacy systems to pull over, making sure saves crossed over properly, etc. On top of the usual implementation on various consoles. It's not as exciting, perhaps, as the new content itself, but taking the time needed to do these things right will pay off in the best console Terraria experience that we can deliver." What they haven't talked about really is how the console development experience for DR Studios compares with that of its predecessor, Pipeworks. Now, DR Studios certainly has done wonderful work for the mobile version, but their console development experience does seem really limited. Although I will say I poked around their website and it does list this console project. So I guess the folks at DR have been gearing up for console development. There's certainly a lot of money to be made if you know how to do it well. And the next couple of months will really reveal how quick of a study they are at the Switch and Xbox and PlayStation development. They've not disappointed us yet, so fingers crossed. And that's it for now. Console is the primary focus for DR Studios now that mobile Terraria has been patched to a point where they're happy pushing it over to the back burner for a while. So it's going to be all hands on deck for the development of Journey's End for the 3 consoles at this point, which is good news. And any news, I'll post about it. So I'll keep my eyes open for anything new that comes along, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.